what was your initial meeting with George Lucas like? I think everybody's just kind of curious because he's got this persona, unless you guys know a different side of him. But like, what was the first meeting like for you?
I'd met George a couple of times when I was working at ILM on the Star Wars prequels, but always very briefly. And so my first real meeting was the first time we sat down to review actually part of what became our feature. And it was in, I think, November of 2006. And we met outside the projection room, and Dave Filoni, our series director, introduced me again to him. And we went in. And basically, actually, my first meeting was right away sitting down, and then the projection started. And so it was kind of like a really mythical moment for me because the lights dimmed and the Star Wars music started and the Star Wars logo came out, and I told myself, okay, that's it. I'm sitting down to edit something that I helped cut, and I'm sitting next to George and Dave.
Official. You were official then. Yeah. And what was your like? Is it like going to the principal's office? I don't know. I just feel like
it's different. The first time I met George Lucas was when he was hanging around with Walter Murch, who's a very well-known editor, and he edited The Godfather. And so he comes into our office, and there's this odd, awkward silence, right? And actually, oddly enough, I was more interested in Walter Murch because I had seen a lot of what he had done, and both of these figures were like just icons in the film world. And they were very cordial, and they greeted themselves. So it's a wonderful experience to be around filmmakers like that and have the opportunity to hopefully put your own mark on things that they've done in the past.
Working on a project like the Clone Wars, then, I mean, I know you guys had to be like secret. Could you tell your friends that you were working on this, or is this one of those things where you had to sign a clause?
We could tell them we were working on it.
Okay, but nothing.
But we couldn't say anything other than the fact that we were working on it.
Under the penalty of death, it was very, very top secret, hush, hush.
So, I mean, for all of us, yesterday we saw this film for the first time, and what was it like to kind of, to almost create a world that people have some familiarity with, but then also to kind of go crazy and kind of do, other stuff? I mean, what kind of boundaries do you get when you work on a project like this? Sergio?
Well, we definitely have to keep in line with the Star Wars legacy. There's a whole series of movies that we have to follow. But I finally feel like it's a movie by the fans, for the fans. A lot of us in the studios are huge Star Wars fans, and we finally get the opportunity to put those little extra details that we always wanted to have with the Jedi and create new characters like Ahsoka and really flesh out other villainesses like the Ventress, who's someone new and very dangerous and sexy, and all these things that we wanted the Star Wars universe to be. We finally have the liberty to do that, and that's something that creators like George Lucas gave us the opportunity to do.
There's a really nice palette. I was like watching this movie, and it felt like, I don't know, it was like it felt like watching paintings, but they were still through. I don't know. How did you guys like work with?
I think a lot of us are. We talk about how we're Star Wars fans, and that's absolutely true. I think it's like 100% fan crew. At the same time, I think a lot of us are also animation fans, and so it's even more of a dream come true because a lot of us got to, in our own disciplines, work on something that we had thought of for a while, which is marrying Star Wars to animation. And so you have this union of the look of Star Wars, the way that it's uniquely grounded in reality, at the same time it's uniquely fantasy-oriented, married to influences ranging from Eastern, Japanese, Asian animation, all the way to American graphic novels, Frank Miller, the things that that we've all loved and kind of combine in our minds in our own way for a certain amount of time, and now all of a sudden we get them together. And it starts from George. I mean, George very early on was talking with Dave, and they were talking about their influences and taste in animation and Eastern culture. They were talking about their pop culture influences and the Thunderbirds, and all these things come together, and that's how the film came to look the way it did.
Last question then, because I noticed that you also worked with the Singaporean office of Lucasfilm. So what was it like collaborating with a different crew, not in the same country, but did you guys travel a lot over there, and did you see?
A lot of us, I don't know if Sergio did, I haven't gone to Singapore, but we do work with them on a daily basis. And the great thing for me, I mean, I've been with Lucasfilm for a little bit, has been to see, they to me represent kind of where I felt like I was and ILM was when I joined. And it was awesome to kind of be in a place where I felt like with a little bit more weathering, to see a group of guys coming together and having the motivation and the youth that I remember having 9, 10 years ago. And so being in a role where I could pass on some of the experience that I've gained, you know, in my role was a tremendous opportunity.
Great. Thank you very much. It was
Thank
nice
you.
talking to you. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.